Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for choosing this day to be with us and to hear from us. It's people like you who make a difference, who put smiles on our faces. In a nutshell, you make us blossom. Some of you have heard our story, but some of you are new here. Our story dates back where we were in the boonies, in the villages, where I was born. You know, sometimes when you look at those kids in the squatter township and in the villages, you go, they have no hope. That's where I started, where people concluded that there is no hope. I learned how to write on the ground because we don't have pens. Not many have paper. My father could not afford to take me to school. He couldn't afford to buy a pair of uniform. So I ended up starting school very late, when I was around 8.5 years old. Early on, I loved education. Because every Saturday, most of the Saturdays, I was teaching friends. I was good in mathematics. I graduated with very good grades. But I couldn't go further. Why? Because at that time, we had 2 public universities. Out of 20,000 graduates at that time, only 1,000 were taken or absorbed into the college system. So I was one of the 19,000 who went to the streets. As God is, as gracious as He is, someone thought of me. He gave me $60. With that $60, I started studying accounting. Before I completed my degree, I got a job with Coopers and Library. Friends, from writing on the sand to having a pen in the office and doing auditing and understanding companies within a very short period, to God be the glory. I got married. I was so thin at that time. But my wife helped me to enjoy life. Well, in Zambia, it doesn't matter the way you look, because it's all about God. It's all about you giving yourself back to others. When we got married, we were in a Bible study. And we were studying the book of Leviticus. As we were studying, I got stuck. And at that particular time, it's like God telling me and my wife, in fact, on the same time, encouraging us that He will use us to be teachers and to start a school. Well, after the Bible study, I talked to my wife. I said I had a very strange feeling. She says, I had a strange feeling too. But the feeling I had was that God is encouraging us to be teachers. I said, wow, to start a school? That's exciting. Following day, we share with friends. And a lot of them, they said, no, you're out of your mind. It's like saying, what are you smoking? Because no one thinks like that in Zambia. It's difficult. How do you think of a school when you can't afford a meal? When you are having maybe 1 meal a day? And we have a phrase in Zambia, 001, meaning 0, I had no breakfast. 0, I had no lunch. 1, I had dinner. Not the dinner you think of. Very few. And that's the background we came from. We were discouraged a little bit, but after 4 months we said, no, the desire came on us so strong. We said we are going to make sure that we go ahead with what we have on our hearts. God opened opened the doors in Australia, Melbourne. I had $1,000 in my pocket and one-way air ticket. I said, Doreen, we are going. She goes, yes, let's go for training, for further training so that we can come back and start a school. Well, in Australia, within a month, we realized $1,000. It wasn't like our currency. It was too small. And we learned how to live, just trusting God. Where we have so many miracles. You go to school, you want to go and tell them that you don't have money. And the registrar comes to you and says, someone has paid for your tuition fees for the whole year, both of you. Oh. And you will never know them, you will meet them up there. We don't know who paid for our fees for the 6 years we spent in Australia. We will never know them, but I hope we'll meet them in heaven. Education started changing the way we're thinking. And we shared with our friends there that we are going to start a school, and many could not believe. The door opened in America. We went to Fuller Seminary. They wanted $10,000 before we came. We said, we don't have. They said, you cannot come in without $10,000. You need to put a down payment. In 3 months, the Lord provided in a very miraculous way. We had $15,000 in our pockets. To God be the glory. We arrived, we never knew where California was. We were in Pasadena. That's when we learned, okay, there's Hollywood here. Okay, there's the ocean. We had to learn all over again. I remember my first experience walking into Ralph's supermarket. And I'm seeing, I want to buy bread. And I see all these types of bread. And I'm thinking to myself, these people are confused. Why do they make our lives so difficult? At our place, we know white bread and brown bread. But here you have Ezekiel bread, Mount grain bread. Give me brown bread. But the Lord has been gracious. And then here, that's where Northrise University Initiative started. In other words, an organization. Our vision to go back to Zambia and start a university. To empower the people of Zambia one student at a time. But to specialize in 3 schools. The School of Business, the School of Theology, and the School of Agriculture. The Lord was gracious. The government gave us 640 acres of land because, we had little faith. We applied for 30 acres of land. Oh. Because we were thinking 10 acres we can build. 20 acres we can have a farm. They came back to us and said, no, your vision is very exciting. Here's 640 acres of land. Wow. What have we done on the land? This is in 2 years, we've built a student dormitory. You have been part of that. 56 students. This month we are harvesting bananas, 4 acres of bananas. Last week we just sold 1,000 chickens. To God be the glory. Wow. And we want to make the farm bigger. Not because we want to have a lot of money, but because we want Northrise University to be sustained through the farm and Northrise. We hope in 5 years to come we'll be able to tell you again and say, today, our goal has been met. Amen. We have 175 students. We have graduated 90 students. So many lives have been changed. And Doreen will share with you some of the students whose lives have been changed. We support ministries. We have what we call Mapalo, which is a community school. One of our graduates started that. We have another community school. We support a children's hospital because we realize when we receive, we have to give back to the community. And this is how Northrise is being used. Because I'm in America, I've given you the American version of what Northrise is all about. But when you come to Zambia, Susan, we'll spend 3-4 hours together. We can imbibe the story. But in all this, may the God who called us receive all the glory. Thank you.